So, one of the, I think the unsung gems, I think, of this region is definitely the Yorkshire Post. The Yorkshire Post, as I've said, does a lot of very good reporting, specifically on this region, and especially on Brexit, it's done very well. But the other thing they did was, you may remember when Tommy Robinson was put in prison, they reported on that very well. And now that that whole case has been done, congrats on the Yorkshire Post, and in particular, James Michigan, the Yorkshire Post editor, for doing this, because I think this is completely right. And this needs to be said. So, the gang of sexual predators that raped and abused children as young as 11 years old might still be walking the streets of Yorkshire following the recklessness of far-right activist Stephen Yaxley Lennon. The former leader of the English Defence League took it upon himself during proceedings to disregard reporting restrictions put in place to protect the justice process. As the accused faced their days in court, Yaxley Lennon, who goes by the name of Tommy Robinson, took to Facebook to broadcast live content which could have caused the trial to collapse. He did so under the auspices of being a champion of the people, effectively duping those who follow him into believing editors like me were covering up these repugnant crimes. His narrative was that newspapers like the Yorkshire Post were too scared to tell the truth because the perpetrators were Asian men. Now, as reporting restrictions are lifted, the truth stands there for all to see. Yaxley Lennon put his own notoriety ahead of any thought for only the people that matter in this, the victims. The flouting of the reporting restrictions, he absolutely jeopardised their right to see punishment, the men who abused them in the most inhumane way imaginable. This newspaper has committed a journalist to the proceedings every step of the way, capturing every submission with shorthand note, knowing that the right time would eventually come to responsibly break the news. That time was, and is, when only those who's guilty of such heinous acts against some of the most vulnerable children in the county have received which is coming to them. Now those men are jailed, this is the right time to publish. It is also the right time for Yaxley Lennon to apologise to the victims. And below you can see all these news reports the Yorkshire Post have done covering this case. So, I, like many others, are waiting to see if Tommy Robinson actually apologises, and not a half-hearted apologise, or he tries and bigs himself up. He just generally apologises to the victims, because he did put this entire trial in potential jeopardy. He flouted reporting restrictions for one thing and one thing only, and that was to make his name bigger. Stephen Yaxley Lennon, I won't use his pseudonym anymore, is the biggest idiot on the face of this planet, and the supporters and people who support him are even bigger idiots because they've fallen for this. To put it quite rightly, he did so under the auspices of being a champion of the people, effectively duping those who follow him into believing that editors like me were covering up these repugnant crimes. Why? Because they were Asian men. And this goes all to the heart of it, of Tommy Robinson spreading blatant, fear and propaganda against a certain minority of this country for, personal notoriety and financial gain. And what has this done? This has made a section of our community suffer attacks and racism on an increased basis. And it comes from people like this.